What's up, Ego Hackers? Welcome to the C.S. Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, C.S. Joseph. Today's Acolyte question is a really funny one. How to get an ISTP to clean their room. And holy smokes, love this question. It's got like some serious Jordan Peterson vibes to it. I mean, let's be straight. Gotta love us some Jordan Peterson. But yeah, like, it's kind of fascinating how, like, you know, if you have an ISTP child or even like an ISTP adult on your hands, and then like they're like very dirty people. They don't clean anything. It's really, really frustrating. And like, why? Why does this happen? Why is this a normal thing? Why is this a thing? Kind of like doing that David Cullen show. He's got his little mug that says, "Why is this a thing?" on his mug, which I think is hilarious. I actually really enjoy that show. But yeah, why is this a thing? Well, it's a thing because of introverted sensing critic combined with introverted feeling demon, okay? ISTPs, they really neglect themselves. They're all about self-neglect. Now, granted, you know, INFJs are probably a bit worse than they are on the self-neglect. But ISTPs, like, for sure, like, they're constantly making a mess. I mean, all around my 20s when I was hanging out with my ISTP cousin Mike all the time, you know, just going to his house, and there is like junk and trash and all sorts of stuff everywhere. At least the trash was all like, you know, picked up and in bins and whatnot. And there was all this like extra, you know, scrap metal and just a bunch of scrap all over for his business. Naturally, it's not like he was just like being a slob. It's not, has nothing to do with that. But it's just everywhere because from their perspective, you know, they got to get their hands dirty. And because their hands are dirty, well, guess what? Everything is dirty, like literally everything. And that's kind of a very fascinating thing about them, is that they're constantly rolling around with their NI child, you know, making their decisions, you know, driving fast, taking chances and whatnot. And this creates extroverted sensing consequences based on their introvert intuition choices, right? And that's kind of like the way that they live their life. And then this basically naturally creates mess in their environment. And, you know, the other thing is that being that they're an STP and an NI child, it's like, ooh, squirrel, ooh, shiny. And because of that, their changing focus just goes in different directions based on the level of distraction that they allow themselves to deal with or be encumbered by throughout their lives. And that distraction is, well, it's pretty fascinating. It's pretty interesting overall, you know, just how much they allow themselves to be so distracted, or they're so distractible. And because of that, they have a hard time starting. Like, they might start to clean up, but then they'll finish doing something else, because while they start cleaning up, then all of a sudden they are inspired to finish something that they were previously working on before, because they were reminded, in the moment that, oh yeah, hey, I should probably finish that thing. And they are finisher types because they're direct responding progression, you know, movement. And because of that, they are finishers. But being that they're extroverted sensors, they forget what they were doing all the time. And then they get distracted by, I should have finished that task that I didn't before. I kind of started that, but I should finish. So it just becomes like this weird weaving between starting and finishing things throughout their life. And then does that mean that cleaning up, especially cleaning the room, is ever like remotely prioritized even one time? The answer is basically no. No, it's not. Not even remotely, not even a little. No, not at all. So based on that, like, it can be really frustrating as a parent. It can be really frustrating as a spouse. It can be really frustrating even as a child, or, you know, when you're a parent and you're an adult, but they're like on the edge of, you know, they're in like middle age to being like an elderly person, and they're just so messy. And it's like, Dad, what the hell? Or Mom, what are you doing? And it ends up just becoming this interesting situation. How do you navigate that? How do you deal with an ISTP who's just kind of not really let themselves go, but let their environment go around them, right? I mean, you'd think that if they have extroverted sensing parent, they'd actually be very good at keeping things tidy. Well, they're not. They're really, really not. It's one of the reasons why they end up being in sexual relationships with SJs, because SJs are masters of keeping things tidy. That's what it's all about. They love keeping them things tidy, and they do because that's the only thing that brings them comfort. So having an SJ around really assists them in keeping things tidy. But even SJs have their limits in terms of keeping things tidy for their ISTP spouse. It's just like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Like, how can I get through this? And it just ends up becoming a ridiculous situation over and over and over and over. The SJ ends up pulling out their hair, and it's like, why can't you just clean up your dirty socks? Why can't you clean up anything? So there is actually a way to talk to an ISTP to motivate them to actually clean up after themselves. So they're unaware of consequences due to extrovert intuition trickster. So when they leave stuff around, they're not really aware of the safety hazards that they actually create. They're not aware of the danger that they create, and that can be a problem. So you need to act like an SJ, which is basically like a safety officer, and go up to the ISTP in question and just be like, hey, maybe it might be a good idea for you to clean this up so that people don't trip and fall and thus die because they're being impaled on a big giant piece of scrap metal. Maybe a good idea, and pointing out danger. And then the ISTP is like, oh, dang, yeah, maybe I should handle that danger. The other thing is that you got to remember, like, ISTPs are part of the mind temple, and they are part of the pride dyad within the mind temple, which means their cognitive development, if they're unconscious developed, they're outwardly accommodating. But regardless of their cognitive development, you can actually ask them to be accommodating. I mean, if they're not primarily accommodating, they can cognitive transition and actually become a bit more accommodating as a result of their human nurture, which is absolutely useful. So what to do is you ask them to be accommodating. So as a result of being accommodating to that regard, it's like, hey, other people may come over, or other people may see this. Other people are going to judge me. Other people are going to make me feel bad because they see all this junk, or because they see that your room is undignified. You got to emulate like an FITE user, emulate ISTJ or ESTJ, basically. And hold the ISTP accountable. It's like, hey, you should be doing the right thing. And talking to their critic, you should be, SI critic, doing the right thing, extrovert feeling inferior, be motivated into actually fixing, the situation. So as a result of that, talk to them and see what they do. Make it about other people. Make it about the people that would be potentially harmed as a result of their irresponsibility when it comes to cleaning their room. Because that's really what it comes down to. It's like level of harm. That's what it's all about, right? And the ISTP needs to be, warned or considered in such a way where it's like, hey, this could blow up in our face later. You got to tell any trickster what the consequences are going to be. Make them aware of the danger. Make them aware that you feel bad about the danger that they are putting you in, potentially your children in, or potentially any guests that randomly show up or come over when unannounced. And even the ones that are announced, it's still a problem, and you're just uncomfortable. Make it about your comfort, right? Make it about the fact that there's danger. And if you do these things, the ISTP all of a sudden will be motivated to clean their room. Now, if you're dealing with like a child or a teenager, it's a little bit more, it's a bit more difficult to do. But they still have that struggle as adults. But again, you have to make it about other people, and you have to make it about danger and consequences. That is the key. You want them to listen to you? I mean, usually they think they got it all going on, that no one's going to get hurt, but the reality of the situation is someone can, especially with that mess, etc. Maybe your reputation is going to hit. Or maybe if you don't care about your reputation, you can make it look like your reputation is going to take a hit because they're being really dirty, okay? These little grease monkeys treating their own room like the shop, right? That's pretty frustrating. But it is a thing, right? It's definitely a thing. And oftentimes, we don't really realize these small things over time. Women do because, they're better at perception than men are. But still, ISTP women who are pretty good at perception, really, really struggle sometimes keeping things clean. And again, it's because of that lack of awareness of consequences. They have higher awareness of what's going on right now. And it's like, oh yeah, I could just tidy up, take 15 minutes if I have a little bit of notice that someone's coming over, instantly. And it's like, yeah, but that's not always going to happen, because the fact that you neglect that ends up causing everything else in your environment to pile up and actually increase risk later. That's not going to help you. That's going to make everything worse. So please be aware of that. Please be careful when it comes to those things. And ISTPs, please clean your room. If you don't, you'll just make excuses, and then nothing will happen, and it'll just pile up, and it'll just get worse over time. It is something that has to be consistently managed over time. And I get that because you neglect yourself with your introverted sensing critic and your introverted feeling demon, that you don't really care that much. You don't really care that much about doing it for yourself. But that's the point. You're not cleaning for yourself. You're cleaning for other people. Other people's safety and other people's comfort. That is why, and also other people's reputations. Okay? That's what you're doing. And also, if you have children, you still need to clean too, because you have to be a good example to those children, right? Right? Yeah. There's a lot of consequences, a lot of bad things that could happen because you're not cleaning up your mess. So do it. Seriously, do it. So, anyway, folks, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.